So a while ago, I was on your podcast actually. That was a couple years ago at this point.
Yeah, it's been a minute, man. It's been too long.
Yeah, yeah. And I think we talked about a bunch of things. I think we covered like voiceover and other things, but I just wanted to have you on to just I don't know, get to know you a little better. What sort of things you're uh interested in, what are you into, that sort of shit.
I get you, man.
Uh
Yeah, it sounds good to me. I mean, I'm an open book. Ask me whatever you want.
in your If you have spare time, what sort of things do you find yourself getting up to?
Mm, Really, just like working out and
Mm.
eating. I'll watch like anime pretty often as well. So pretty
Oh,
standard
okay.
like weeb lifestyle from like one guy that read a Reddit post and then just started working out after watching anime. So
What anime are you watching?
right now, Jujutsu Kaisen's the big one.
Ah, yeah, yeah. I've heard good things. That's a new shonen one, right?
Yeah, it's pretty good, man. It's pretty good.
Mm. Now, have you been like a weeb for a long time, or is it a recent?
Whoa, 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 whoa. We don't use that word around these parts. I'm not a weeb. I'm
Yeah. What are you?
a purveyor of fine animation.
Sure, sure. So, as an anime connoisseur, how long have you been an anime connoisseur?
Probably my whole life.
Okay.
I started with the classics like Rurouni Kenshin, Dragon Ball, Inuyasha, all that from like the old Toonami era. And I just
Sure.
never quite let go of it.
So, what would be like some of your favorites of all time then?
Code Geass, of course, would be
Mm.
up there. I also really like Demon Slayer, which is a newer one that I put pretty high on the
Mm.
list. Demon Slayer is just some like super hype shit. Like that is just some fantastic work there. And
Mm.
then first season of One Punch Man, the second season kind of blows dick off. It's not very good, but the first season
Sure.
is like a masterpiece.
Have you seen Mob Psycho?
Mob Psycho is awesome. I love Mob
Mob
Psycho.
Psycho fucking rules. Yeah. Are there any sort of interests or hobbies that people might not know you have?
I don't think I have any like secret hobbies. Pretty much every hobby I've gotten
Mm.
into, I've put on the internet, like card collecting, collecting sex toys, stuff like that. So really, all
Mm.
of it's out there. I don't think I have anything too secretive.
What sort of cards do you collect?
Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon.
Do you play?
I play Duel Links. I haven't played like the
Mm.
actual TCG Yu-Gi-Oh, but I do play Duel Links.
Do you still keep up with it?
Yep, absolutely.
I was really into Duel Links. I think a couple years ago. In fact, on my honeymoon, I was playing a lot of Duel Links. I remember because it
Mm.
like just came out. In the while we were whenever we were like in line at like Disney World or whatever. Yeah, I used to play like classic Yu-Gi-Oh back in the day. Um, a little bit of the Pokemon TCG as well. Do you just collect Pokemon then?
Yep, I just collect them. I think they're just really fun to have.
Mm. Any like specific sets or like what drives your collection regarding Pokemon? Just like anything goes, or do you like try to complete sets or?
Value. I look for the big ticket items. I don't sell the cards, but I love having like the really big ticket ones. Like yesterday, I entered a jungle first ed break and got the nice first ed jungle Snorlax
Oh
PSA tins
shit!
worth like 15K. Like that shit just gets me hard. I love that
Oh
kind of stuff.
shit! Okay, okay. I wow. So that card is worth 15K now.
And if it's gym mint 10, it's 15K, which I mean, obviously I don't think mine's gonna quite make that mark, but it's still nice just to know that if it was perfect, that's what it would be worth. It's just kind of cool.
And is that something you like got into? Were you into Pokemon cards as a kid?
Yeah, I've always been into
Mm.
cards, but I've taken a lot of breaks and then I've just recently got back into it over the last few months, like opening them on stream and stuff, like full boxes and all that.
Yeah, yeah. I find a lot of people, including myself, because there was a couple of years ago I got really back into Pokemon card collecting. Like I talked to a previous guest about this. I collected. I decided I wanted to get every card from basic up to Neo Revelations because
Oh,
those were the cards that I grew up with. Now I don't go for first edition on everything, that sort of thing. But I do own, I believe, last I checked, every card. in that whole set. Now, I think somebody was telling me that Pokemon card prices have spiked. Is that true?
That is beyond true. Spiked is an understatement. A
Mm,
single unlimited non-shadowless Charizard from base set just sold for 30K. And
holy fucking shit.
that's a
Okay.
pretty common card for most people to just have lying around. It's not that rare. It's crazy.
What prompted this?
I think it was Logan Paul because he busted a first ed shadowless
Uh,
box, and I think that just reignited everyone's old nostalgia. Even if you don't watch Logan Paul, I think like the
damn.
ripples were felt.
Yeah, I think somebody when they were telling me about this, they mentioned one of those two. I don't really remember. I honestly don't really know which one is which. One of them is worse or bad. I is which one is the one who like gets arrested all the time? Is
I
that
think that's
Jake Paul?
yeah, that one's Jake.
Okay. Is Logan also a shithead
Oh
or
yeah,
I
no,
don't know.
they're both turbo douchebags for sure. But I
Okay,
mean, they're
gotcha.
huge douchebags.
They're just like, they're I don't really keep up with a lot of like YouTube stuff. So I'll see like a name in like Twitter trending or a
Yeah,
name will pop up and I'm like I guess I have to I don't have to, but I guess I'll find out who this who this fuckhead is.
I mean, they might
Uh
as well just to stay in the know.
yeah, I guess. So I am familiar I one of them or both of them there's something. Anyway, I'm not gonna spend any more time on the fucking halls. But yeah, Pokemon cards is interesting. That's definitely. I was talking with a previous guest as well about this. It's really fun to collect. I think something that you were into as a kid, but then as an adult, you're like, oh, I actually have income, so I'm not limited to like what little money I could scrounge as a kid. Like now I can irresponsibly spend
Exactly. You don't have mom and
on
dad slapping an extra pack out of your hand at Toys R Us or anything. Now it's just uncaged and unsupervised.
exactly. Do you collect anything else besides cards? I know I mentioned you mentioned sex toys.
Yeah, so I don't usually pay for the sex toys. So Adam and Eve just like sends me boxes just to like
Mm,
make goofy shit with, just because I think
okay,
it's fun. So I
sure.
have so many sex toys, and I've recently bought Moby Huges, which are 3 foot dildos, but that's just because, I mean that's just a nice piece to have, really. So I have a couple of
Sure.
those.
So do you display these or
So my Moby Huges are kind of like archways into my house. So when you come in my front door, you have to go by these two Moby Huge dildos that are standing up there. So it's kind of like a nice little grand entrance.
Yeah, yeah. Gives you a sense of what to expect within.
Yeah, oh for sure.
I have this sort of like collecting sort of obsession myself, so I was just wondering if you had any other. I always love hearing about people's collections. So besides like cards, sex toys, is there anything else that you are a collector of or?
Well, I guess so. Gwyneth Paltrow's candles. She sells like her pussy
Mm,
smell and her orgasm smell,
okay.
and I always buy those when she releases them.
Do they actually smell good?
No, they smell like shit. They smell like
Okay.
really lazy candles. They don't smell like vagina or an orgasm. They just smell like they found wax in a dumpster and decided to sell it.
Mm, I I gotta say this is the first I've heard of these, but
Really?
yeah, yeah. Because I know she like sells a bunch of weird shit, but I wasn't familiar. I had not heard of the what smell was it? Orgasm? The
Yeah.
orgasm candles?
Orgasm and
Yeah,
vagina.
vagina. God, I have not heard of those. But you're not recommending them. They
No,
smell like shit.
no,
Okay,
would definitely not have that around like a candlelight dinner or anything.
got it, got it. Now, obviously, you know, you're doing quite well these days. But I remember we were last time we spoke, which was a while ago. We I believe talked about like voice acting, and you had like an interest in it, right?
Yeah, of course.
Is that still something that you're interested in pursuing, or?
Yeah, absolutely. I pretty much, whenever those opportunities arise, I absolutely explore them. I think it's a extremely fun thing to do. I also do like real acting. I'm not great at either, mind you. Like I'm not very talented in
Mm.
either field, but it's just super fun to do and be a part of. Like I know you're super great at it. Like you did a great job in Borderlands, by the way, man. Like
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
yeah, I'm nowhere near that level, but just the experience of doing it and just getting into those characters and having fun is just it's great. Nothing like it.
So you've done live action work too.
Mm-hmm.
What have you worked on?
I was in the Hunger Games as a
Oh shit! Really?
yeah, as a uncredited, not final cut character at the District 8 hospital. All that remains is my hand or my arm.
Did you have lines?
I had one line, but it's not there
Oh,
anymore.
oh shit! But that's a big deal though.
Yeah, it was really
Uh,
cool.
did you get to work with Jennifer Lawrence?
We were in the same scene, yeah, but I didn't like meet her or
Mm,
anything.
what was the line?
I don't remember it verbatim now, but it was basically
Mm,
calling for help. I was an assistant at the District 8 hospital, and I was calling for help with this burn victim girl. So it was something like, Doctor, when you're done there, she needs your help, or something along those lines.
mm. And how? I'm sure you've talked about this already, but I'm genuinely interested. I did not know about this. How did you get this opportunity?
I just found an open casting call in
Oh
Atlanta
shit,
when I was
that's
in
great.
college. Yeah.
Okay.
And then when I got there, they were like, we need someone to like do this line or some shit." And I was like, "Oh, well, I can do that."
And they had like no idea who you were or
Oh
anything
no, no, no.
on like online or anything. They're just like, you do this line, and it happened
Yeah,
to be that. Dang, that's pretty cool. How long was the shoot?
2 weeks. I was in two scenes, but the second scene just doesn't even exist in the film anymore, so it's not worth talking about.
Mm-mm. But you actually had to be present for the whole 2 weeks.
Uh, I think I was there for 8 days of the 2 weeks.
That's still pretty fucking cool. Shit.
It was a lot.
Uh, did you enjoy the experience?
Loved it.
Mm.
Absolutely loved it. It was also surprising because the Hunger Games, that's a blockbuster. Like there's millions of dollars into that
Yeah.
movie. The set
Mm-hmm.
was dog shit. The set was literally like a building that had almost nothing done to it with blankets thrown around. But then in
Oh
the final
shit.
cut of the movie, it looks fantastic. It really does look like a hospital, but the building itself looked like someplace you'd find overdosed homeless people. Like there was nothing in there.
So it was just like, was it all CG then in the final cut? Then is
No,
that
I
what
think
they just filled everything in?
I think what they must have done is had like these optimal camera angles in the way they like put the lighting that must have just made it look far bigger and more interesting than it was because there was a ton of
Mm.
people there. So they probably hid a
Mm.
lot of the shortcomings with bodies, like putting people in front of those things.
Sure, sure. Aside from that, have you done any other live action work?
I'm in an upcoming horror film as Officer Greg.
Oh shit! Did you audition for that as well, or open
Yeah.
casting call, or
So
what was
actually,
the?
Andrew from the podcast as well got a role in that with me because it was filmed in near our area. So we both auditioned, got into that, and both had characters in the movie.
Where are you based currently?
I'm in Tampa. We're both in Tampa.
Oh, okay, okay. And so when you said Atlanta, so that's not too far from you then.
No, not at all.
Yeah, like Atlanta, I know is like just growing and growing in terms of film and such. So,
Hmm.
uh, huh. That is very cool. I did not actually know that. Is that something like acting or voice acting or both? Is that something that you want to keep pursuing like on a, how do I say this? Like a more serious like really pursue?
Oh,
Or is it
for
more like
sure.
oh, I mean, if opportunities arrive, I'll gladly take them because I like doing it, but it's not my. I guess I'm just curious. Like, do you have like a for first and foremost creative passion, or is it like a mix of things?
I really just think I love doing it. So
Mm.
I definitely get more serious about it. But it'd only be as opportunity arises. I'm really like I'm not kidding. I'm not very good. Like I'm
Mm.
really not great. So it'd be more like if this character fits, I would absolutely love to do it. But I wouldn't want to
Mm.
bring something down by just being in it for the sake of being in it. You know what I mean?
I see. I see. What would you say? Not to get all fucking in actor studio, like, but like, do you like if because I'm always kind of curious when I like meet fellow sort of creators online. Like, do you have sort of like a set like a passion or goal, or is it just to make shit? Like, what would you is there anything that sort of defines a creative path or journey for you?
For me, it's just always about the experience of making the content. I just absolutely love making things and creating new things and
Mm,
just doing bigger, crazier, and just doing all kinds of things. So the goal is just always to keep making new things, keep doing all kinds of fun stuff. It's never really like a big scheme or to get me somewhere else. It's really just in the moment, I want to make something, have some fun making it, and that's always
mm.
just been the drive for me.
Right. Yeah, I remember when I first sort of stumbled upon your videos. Um, I think with a lot of people that whose stuff or whatever channels I tend to sort of gravitate towards. There, I do get a genuine sense of like, this person just like enjoys the shit that they're making, and isn't uh necessarily like chasing after things that they don't care about, or just pushing shit out just to push shit out. There was definitely like a sense of like, oh, like this is the guy, and he's a funny guy, and he makes, he's got a very specific voice and sense of humor that really works for him, and it's something that I think a lot of people nowadays, well, not even nowadays, but let's say for the past couple of years, they well, before I go into this, when you started doing like YouTube shit, was it your dream to be like a YouTuber or a YouTube star of some kind?
No, that didn't even exist when I started because I started in
Yeah,
2006. That concept didn't even exist until Ray William Johnson in 2010. Until then, it
exactly.
was always just a hobby, something to do for fun. And that's how I still treat it.
Yeah, yeah. That's also very similarly to how I still treat it. And I think it's because a lot of people just sort of accidentally find success. I'm one of those people included. I don't know how it happened, but it did, I guess. So I'm just rolling with it. But what I was gonna say earlier was like, I think a lot of kids these days are like, that's the dream, right? The dream is to be the YouTuber, the YouTube star, or whatever you call it. Uh, Whereas I think what sort of brings me to channels that I like, or people that I am interested in, is that they don't necessarily have that sense of like, oh, I wanted to be a YouTube star, but just like I just wanted to make shit, and this is the shit I like to make. Because I feel a sort of like a kinship to that. Like, oh yeah, I that's exactly how I sort of approach it. Not to label you in a certain way, but I'm trying to compliment you.
No, I get what you're saying, man. No, it totally makes sense. And you can always tell when somebody's like doing something because it's like the YouTuber thing, right?
Sure,
You can
sure.
always tell when it's someone making something because it's like expected or to follow a certain trend, like a slime challenge or some shit like that.
Yeah, yeah. Which, I mean, if you fucking love slime,
But hey,
go
yeah,
for it. Yeah, like I totally like. But if you're just doing it because it's popular, that to me, I think that to me really, you can see it's a thin facade. I feel, and you can tell, or at least I feel I can tell when someone actually has a passion or cares about the shit that they're doing. But
for sure. I completely agree with that.
now, I like to give the guest an opportunity to like bring up a topic or ask a question to me if you'd like. No pressure. This is obviously not something that's on your shoulders. You don't have to, but if you have something you'd like to talk about or ask me, I'd like to give you the opportunity to do so. And if
Okay.
not, don't fucking worry about it.
No, no, no.
We'll just,
I did have a question because I brought
yeah,
up
what's up?
Borderlands earlier. How did that come about, and what was that experience like? Because I don't have any experience with something of that scale. So walk me through that.
Borderlands came about. I believe I was sent the audition for a couple characters by the casting director slash voice director Joel McDonald, and I believe how they approached me was the writers knew me for what stuff that I was doing online, um, and truth be told, Joel was like, I don't want to send this to a fucking YouTube guy. uh, because he told me all this afterwards, like, very frankly, like Joel's great. And it was this thing. I think they had maybe mm, tried in the past to reach out to, let's say, non-actors who were just like, I don't know, well known or something, and it didn't work out. Like the what they were getting back was not up to par, I guess. But I sent the auditions back very quickly because I usually just send them back really quickly. And he immediately was like, "Oh, you're like okay." And then he like looked me up and was like, "Oh, he actually has voiceover experience, that sort of thing." So it was this interesting thing. I think a lot of people might have the assumption that, oh, like if you have a big audience, then that's the easy shoe-in to get roles, right? But I have often found, not often found, but in some cases it works against you, right? Because they assume, oh, he's one of those, he's like one of those Logan Paul dumb YouTube guys, like he's not a fucking actor, that sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I
Uh,
imagine that would definitely be a hindrance more than it would be helpful.
yeah. And I've been doing professional voiceover for I think 6 years now, and I've definitely been in positions, right, where uh I've been in like final casting, like a what do you call it, the callbacks, right, where it's like me and another guy, and if it was just a simple thing of like, oh well, his social media audience is bigger, go with him, frankly speaking, I would have gotten the part. But I find that with most creators, they want the perfect fit, right? I've rarely found a thing where I felt, oh, they're just asking for me because of like an audience that I have. In fact, it's usually, in some cases, I have to prove to them, oh no, I can do this. Like I'm not just I have not like no experience. I have lots of experience, and then they almost feel more reassured. But yeah, I guess the auditions, I got the auditions. Flack was one of them. I ended up booking the part. And then yeah, after that it was flew out there for the first one because I think for the main cast, they wanted to sit the actors down and actually like go through the whole story, like all the things. And also my character had actually changed by the time between the sides and the final character. The character was originally a lot more theatrical, but then they became very like almost kind of deadpan and like more like I mean, I don't know. Did you play? I assume you've played the game.
Yeah, of course.
And did you play as Flack, or who did you play as?
I didn't play as Flack, but I did go back to play as Flack just to hear your
Mm.
lines.
Mm.
I meant like my initial playthrough, like when I initially beat the game, I didn't play as Flack, so I went back so I could hear it.
Gotcha. And yeah, after that it was just recordings. Not most. I think all of them. Or no, not all of them. I'd say 90% of them were here in LA remotely. Lately, I've been doing a lot of them from home because of COVID. All the recent DLC has been mostly from home. Otherwise, it's usually you just go out to a studio here and do it over like call or whatever. And then I think there was one other session where we did like a launch party, and I think I recorded some stuff while I was in town. I have no idea if any of that was interesting whatsoever, but yeah, that was my experience anyway. A lot of stuff. It's like, how did you get involved? It's like, I got sent an audition, I passed, they gave me the part. But yeah.
Well, yours is just like one of the first cases I know of something that size for like a YouTuber to land. Mostly it's like smaller stuff, right? So that I think
Mm,
was like kind of like a new break in the crossover between internet and real world stuff right there. So I just thought that was super cool. I'm also really
mm.
surprised that they even let you do remote for those kind of big scale projects. That's actually really
Oh,
surprising to me.
actually, it's very common. Remote. It'll depend, like on the project. But if they had like Borderlands is Gearbox, that's Texas, right? But there's a lot of like Texas studios where they book LA talent and then they just they don't need to fly them in. They just record it from remotely. It's pretty common actually, as long as like they know the studios out there. But there's a lot of connections between. I mean, back when I did I did some stuff for Rooster Teeth, several years ago, and that was back when I lived in Michigan. And even and that was we just found a studio local to me, and we're just like, hey, can you record this for us? And that's how I did that. But with some other stuff, they're definitely gonna want you in studio at least for the initial session, or in some cases all the sessions. It really depends. I think COVID though has made things really interesting in that I think people realize you can do a lot of stuff remotely. I actually, as far as recording goes, I hate recording from home though. I always go into a studio if I can, because I having to worry about like gain and like traffic outside my home sucks ass. So that's something that I definitely prefer to be in a studio with an engineer if possible.
It also seems more convenient as well. I feel like when you're in a professional setting like that, it might like amplify your game there and just make it seem bigger, you know what I mean? As opposed to something more relaxed in your own home. I feel like if you're doing something that scale, going into the actual physical location would just be better overall.
It's always better also just because I think chiefly an engineer, a professional engineer, is doing all the technical work. And so all you have to worry about is the acting. You don't have to be like, oh, fuck, did I peak? Or, oh, fuck, did I, like, was there, like, they handle everything so that it's completely, all you have to focus on is your job. And then in some cases, if some of my favorite sessions have been like if you work with other actors at the same time. That's like the most fun ever. But that usually only happens with like animation, and even then, not all the time. I find a lot of some, depending on the cast, some shows still record everybody separately.
Oh, that's a shame. I always thought most of those were delivered in the same room.
That was definitely the case in like the cartoons we grew up watching, like the 90s cartoons. I believe the majority of those cartoons were recorded everyone together. They still do that, but it's going to depend. Like a lot of cartoons now cast like big name celebrities, right? And so if you have like a cast of like 8 huge Hollywood actors as your main cast, there's no way you're going to be able to sit them all down to like record all at once. All of those are recorded separately just because it's way easier. From my experience, I worked on a show called OKKO, and for that I actually did get to work with some of the other actors, and that was really, really fun. But then I've done other stuff with Cartoon Network where it's just me. It depends, I think, if it's feasible, because I think especially like with the main cast of a lot of those cartoons, if it's feasible, if the cast has like, if they're not big name Hollywood actors with crazy schedules, I think they want to preserve the in-person charisma that you have with like a back and forth. So if you're like main cast, they'll try to put everybody recording together. And then if you're like as a guest role, it's less priority. It's like, if you can, we'll have you there. If not, that's fine.
That definitely makes sense.
I hope I'm not completely boring you, but I with the voiceover talk.
No, man, I find all that stuff very interesting. I was the one that asked about it. I find that whole field to just be pretty cool, and I think not a lot of people know a whole ton about it. I guess right now it's probably a little different with everything going on in the world because most of it's being done from home, like you said. But that whole mystique of going to like this big studio, doing these lines in front of like a whole cast and crew, like that whole thing just sounds incredible.
Yeah, I mean it definitely, I think the first time I did it, I was like it was pretty nerve-wracking, right? Like you're gonna shit my pants, but Uh, I think uh, now it's funny. Now it's like very comfortable. I don't know what, like, walking into a studio, putting your headphones on is like almost comforting now. Whereas the first couple of sessions were definitely, very like, oh shit, I don't, imposter syndrome, right? Like, do I
Yeah.
deserve to be here? That sort of thing.
Now, do you do
Um,
any live acting as well, or is it mainly voice acting stuff?
it's primarily voice acting. The only real live action acting work I did was I did a live action series with Rocket Jump and Crunchyroll called Anime Crimes Division. We did like 2 seasons of that. It's on YouTube and Crunchyroll, I believe. Uh, and that was like a full fledged shoot. Like, I don't know. Are you familiar with like Rocket Jump or?
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh my
yeah.
goodness. I totally forgot about this actually. I remember hearing about Anime Crimes Division. I didn't watch it though.
I actually went back and rewatched the second season not that long ago. Not to suck my own dick, but it's pretty funny. Like, I was very proud of what we did, and it's very goofy, very like um but it's it's fucking Freddie and Matt, so it's like, super super well executed and stuff. Uh yeah, that's the only real live action work I've done. I mean, uh I have been sent or I've done auditions for stuff. Every now and then my agents will be like, "You want to audition for this?" I'm like, "Sure." It's not really like a priority for me. It's more like a, yeah, if it works out, then great. Like, and then I think especially after doing Anime Crimes, which was so much fun, because that was like, like a 2 week shoot, and like, I don't know if you had this experience when you did Hunger Games, but you really kind of feel like a family almost, because you're like seeing the same people every day, and like, it feels very, I don't know, it was a really rewarding experience. It was something that, like, before doing that, I was like, why the fuck would anybody, why would I ever do live action? Why would anyone want me for that? But after doing it, and how, much fun it was for me, uh, now I'm like, oh yeah, like I would absolutely do that again. Not that all live action shoots are gonna be that rewarding and fun. Like, I'm sure a lot of them suck ass, but I'm open to it anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially with something like that. Also, I just looked at Rocket Jump. They haven't posted anything in 2 years. That's crazy to
Mm.
me.
I know that Freddie and Matt they're doing Dungeons and Daddies podcast, which I know has been going pretty well for them. And I know they're cooking up other stuff as well. But yeah, I think Rocket Jump. I don't know how, I'm not super like in the know of like what, but I feel like with them, it may I what they're working on outside of it seems to be mm, doing better. I don't know. I think, but knowing those guys, I'm sure whatever they come up with will be good shit.
Oh, yeah, for sure. No doubt.
It's funny that you mentioned like, have I done live action stuff, because and I don't know if I talked about this publicly. I have to be maybe a little careful, but uh, one of the very, even before I moved out here, I received an audition out of nowhere for a superhero show. That's all I'll say on the details of who or what or whatever. And for that, like, I was like, okay, whatever. This sure. I sent them a tape, and then I ended up passing and going to the next one. They're like, okay, do now. Here's another one. Do this, and then I passed that, and it was for a main role in this show. Not the main character, but one of the main cast or whatever. And I kept passing and passing, and then they actually flew me out in front of the executives uh, to do it, and I passed that. And then it was me and one other guy, but I ended up not getting it because, according to what I was told, the other guy is shorter, and we think that would be a funnier dynamic with one of the actresses who is tall. Uh which really gave me a like, wow, fucking Hollywood, huh? I mean,
That'll do it.
I knew, right, that this is what live action acting is like. You know, it's a lot of it is going to be based off of completely off factors out of your control. Basically, it was supposed to be a full series. Like the contract, which by the way, terrifying contract. It was like like 50 pages long.
God, yeah, that
Yeah,
shit is terrifying.
I had to get a fucking like lawyer to look at it and work it out, but like one of those. And then the deal was like it was gonna be a full season, guaranteed. I was like, at the time I was like, oh shit, is this like a big break, like, kind of thing? And then when I didn't get it, I was very disappointed. And then they shot a pilot, and then nothing. It never happened. Even though it was set to. It had been announced and everything, and then nothing. So it ended up being like a huge bullet dodge, because if I had signed that contract, or no, I did sign the contract, but if I had gotten the part and filmed that pilot, but a lot of the stuff would have really restricted a lot of stuff that I could have done outside of it. So it ended up being like sort of like a blessing. Didn't feel like it at the time, but that's why I often tell people, like, oh, like, you didn't get that one thing, or you didn't get that, sometimes it's just, maybe it wasn't meant to, maybe it's just that there was a reason. I don't know. I have found that usually if I don't get something, it's still, things manage to work out, and sometimes even it's like you dodged a fucking bullet.
Yeah, for sure.
It's been so long now, and I'm being vague enough, and I don't think there's any I don't think I can actually get in any trouble at this point. But it's something where, I'm just covering my tracks. If people figure it out, that's actually, I don't think anything will matter.
It's just better be safe. Yeah.
Yeah. Plus, I'm the one. This is my fucking podcast, and I'm recording it. If it's on me, I'm the dipshit. But I don't anticipate any. In fact, it's kind of more fun to be vague about it, so people will be like, because I'm not going to confirm it for people. So they'll be like, "Was it this? Was it this?" You'll never know.
You'll have all kind of conspiracy theories cooking up about it.
Yeah, I just like to have 10 different shows. People are like, "Oh man, ProZD could have been in this show." It's like, you'll never know. You'll never know which one.
Pretty soon you'll be like written into each one of these as their own little fan lore
on the wiki or whatever.
Yeah.
Now, I feel like I've been talking way too much about myself. Going back to you, things are going, you're killing it right now. And this is such a cheesy question, but I like to hear what people sort of think. Like, let's say, the whole 5-10 years from now, are there any sort of like goals you want to hit, or is it just see what happens?
Yeah, no real goals, just see what happens. I just want to keep doing like bigger, crazier shit. I don't want to just keep doing like the exact same stuff, which is why I'm always changing up the kind of content I do.
Sure.
So 10 years from now, hopefully have a whole huge cinematic universe for Officer Greg spin-offs, action figures, the whole nine.
You've been doing a lot of Twitch, and how has that been? Because I know little to nothing about it. I've only recently gotten back into it because I've been doing some like charity stuff. But I'm always curious, talking to people who like do a lot of Twitch streaming. What about it sort of appeals to you the most?
I just love the interaction with the chat. I think it's a lot of fun to be playing like a new game and not have to experience everything alone. You can just bounce jokes off chat back and forth and just have this nice little fun experience. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's definitely the best part of it. When people stream and they don't talk to chat, I don't really see the point. You know what I mean? Because it's like it's supposed to be hanging out with like friends, basically. Just
Sure.
kick it, shoot the shit, just good time, really.
Yeah, I am unfortunately a little guilty of not talking to the chat, but
Oh, you
uh,
heathen!
I know, but I'm not going into this to. I'm doing it for the kids. I'm doing it for charity and shit. That's my excuse. I'm not. I don't have to talk to anybody. No, I mean I will uh, I will look at the chat and respond, but I don't respond to like. Well, I'm sure you don't respond to everything, but like I will respond, especially if it's something a little more low key, like. I did like a 24-hour gaming stream like a couple weeks ago, and that I had to be very focused on what we were doing. But I've been doing some like subsequent like we when they hit milestones they get rewards or whatever, and there was one where I was like playing games with fans, and that one I was much more casual and actually answering questions from the chat. And um, but I don't know, I just maybe I mean in a lot of ways I'm probably just bad at Twitch, but uh it to me I'm always very impressed by like the sort of stamina and um what's the word, I mean really just like stamina and that a lot of frequent what the streamers a lot of frequent streamers have where they can like go like how long do you usually do a stream for?
For me, it varies. I'm typically anywhere from like the 4 to 6 hour range, but most of the people on there they go for like 8 plus. Yeah, it is
God
pretty impressive stuff.
shit like I find, and maybe this is also just my personality, but like if I'm streaming with somebody else, like with a guest or like even if it's just one other person, um, it relieves me a lot of the exhaustion or pressure or whatever you call it. Like then I can go, as long as whatever. But if it's just me, uh, going for like 8 hours to me that sounds like absolute torture, and it might be because I like I don't know. Back when I used to do it, I would go like 2 hours and be like, God damn! Like how do people do this shit? But is it something where you sort of because you said it's kind of like you shoot the shit, you enjoy talking to them, and does that sort of is that the energy you can kind of feed off of, like oh like they're having a good time, I'm having a good time, that sort of thing.
Yeah, for sure. Like if you were just sitting there totally by your lonesome, like let's say you started up a stream and then closed that entire window and just did something totally alone, I probably couldn't do that for more than like an hour and a half, 2 hours, something like that,
Mm,
because it just get boring. So having
mm,
the chat there to like talk to and joke around with, it's just a good time. It's like always having a perpetual friend there with you to like shoot the shit with during a game or whatever you're
sure.
doing.
And then here's a I guess question for you. I think I know the answer to this, but not persona, but you know what I'm talking about. The person that you present to on like your audience online. If there are there any differences between what quote unquote the real you and that, or is it pretty one on one?
No, it's just me. It's just me. I
Yeah,
don't really play a character. The only time
yeah.
I'm ever like playing a character is when I'm doing some shit like Officer Greg or hyping myself up to be like the best actor of all time or some shit.
Uh huh. Uh huh. Yeah. No, I already knew the answer to it because I think that's definitely why a lot of people like a lot of what you do resonates with people is that you definitely get the sense of this is just uh Charlie, right? Like this is him. This is his whole deal. Yeah, I think that is something that is I don't want to say is rare, but it's I guess the reason why I don't watch a ton of YouTube is I feel like there are a lot of people where I just go I don't get any sense of who this person actually is.
Right. Yeah, there's definitely a difference between the person you see online and the person that's actually behind that character.
And the only reason I asked is like it's not necessarily that like oh you're a phony baloney or you're not, because I think some people might be a little more what's the word, present a more extroverted version of themselves, or like a more energized, slightly more energized, or that sort of thing. I figured I'd ask out of curiosity. we're getting close to the end. So, is there any last shit you wanted to talk about?
Hmm. Yeah, I think really my big question was mainly just about your experience with the whole voice acting field because I find that whole subject to be very interesting.
Mm-mm. Um,
I,
is
I,
there?
I
Oh,
could
go
uh, I
ahead.
could toss a question your way though.
Yeah, what's up?
Do you have any sex toys?
I am very boring. I don't really have any sex toys now.
I've never actually used one in its intended purpose.
Okay. Um, that was one I was like, should I ask? I was like, that seems intrusive, but you have given me the answer. Okay.
Yeah, no, I've never
Yeah.
actually put one in my butthole or anything crazy. I just use it to like play darts and shit like that with.
So, in terms of sex toys, like the range of what they send you, like, so that is it? I see. I mean, you mentioned the dildos. Any like very wild out there stuff?
Really not nothing too wild. I mean, I have like 40 bondage kits now. I could literally capture like an entire like building's worth of people, like a whole office
Sure.
building,
Uh
string
huh.
them up, but nothing like super goofy. I have like one weird sex doll they sent which is genuinely one of the most uncomfortable looking things of all time to put your dick in. It's like
Hmm.
super sharp, like every edge is super sharp. It's like
Interesting.
covered in spikes. But I
Hmm.
don't think I have anything like out there, super out there, besides the Moby Huges, which are just very massive.
What does the sex doll look like?
It looks like if you took the default female avatar from any Dark Souls game
Okay.
and then downgraded the graphics back to N64. It's just a whole
Jesus.
ton of sharp edges.
So it's like almost like a bunch of polygons almost? Is it
Yeah, pretty
that? Wow.
much. Yeah.
There might be like a fetish for that. Or not might be, I'm sure there's a fetish for that.
Oh, there absolutely has to be, but yeah, that thing looks like an actual death trap.
Huh. Um and do you is there like I assume you've done like a video on this sex doll or is there a photo of this? I'm just curious to see exactly what it looks like after your description.
Yeah, well, I mean, I didn't do like a whole video with her, but I had this idea when I initially got it that I was just going to use it as a Halloween costume, like just wear the sex doll and I guess catch crimes if I actually tried to trick or treat, but I couldn't fit inside of her. So I just gave that idea away on YouTube for anyone that wanted to try. So I think the video is called like Ideas for You or some shit like that.
Mm.
In that same video, I also bought a Michael Vick signed jersey, and I was gonna wear that and let my dogs beat me up, so that way they could get like some, compensation for what he did to dogs so many years ago.
Sure. These are some golden ideas here.
I don't think anyone's done them yet, so if you want to hop on it, man, you're more than welcome to take them.
Yeah, I'm gonna it'll be the next video I put up is a combination of both. Me in the sex doll, getting torn apart by dogs.
Yeah, that's the
Uh
way to do it.
I think that'll fly. And then just sort of like a simpler question, like lately these days, what have you been playing anything good? Watching anything good?
Yeah, I've been playing pretty much every new game that comes out. I love just blasting through it on stream, so I've played like all of the new games. My favorite one recently is definitely the Demon Souls remake. I don't know if you're a big Souls guy,
Mm.
but that game is fantastic.
Do you have the PS5?
Yeah, yeah.
How is it?
It's really, I mean, it's great. The controller's super cool. All the whole haptic feedback system really lived up to the hype, especially with Demon Souls.
So I'm a grandpa. What's the controller? What's the whole deal with it? Like,
It was a bunch of marketing mumbo jumbo about how the controller's gonna like make you feel like you're part of the game, which is a claim
okay,
people have made for the last like 25 years.
sure.
But the big deal is that the feedback on the controller comes directly from the game. So in Demon Souls in particular, if someone shoots an arrow at you and you just barely dodge it, you'll hear the whooshing of the wind going by on the controller and you'll feel a vibration on the side that you missed it. It's
Whoa.
really
Okay.
cool.
Not again. I'm gonna sound like a grandpa here, but as far as video games go, like I still play video games, but it's usually just like one video game every couple months or whatever. But
Yeah.
like, so from what I'm trying to imagine, it's like several years ago I played with the Vive and the how that kind of felt really cool. Is it something like that? I realize I'm sounding so fucking like outdated right now, but
No, it's not like a bad question or anything. I mean, it definitely doesn't get that kind of feeling, I don't think,
Okay,
but
okay.
it gives you that same kind of like oohs and ahs, I would suppose. Like when the generation of games have changed over the last decade or so, it's never something like there's a big leap. It's like, oh, these games just like look better. But I'd say
Mm,
with this one, at least with the PlayStation 5, with their controller, it's like, wow, this is actually kind of different. Games kind of feel
mm.
different now.
Is it the same DualShock shape?
No, they changed it so it's a lot bigger now, so it actually fits in the hand comfortably, and you don't have to like fucking scrunch your fingers over it.
Gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, I'm not a. I haven't played a lot of the Souls games, but I know people were really excited about the remake. Anything else on the PS5 that you've been enjoying?
I played the Spider-Man game, and that was good, but it's like super short, so you play it for like 2 hours, and you're halfway done with the entire game.
Mm, gotcha. I'm trying to think of what I've like nothing. Like I mean, so I am still playing Animal Crossing because
Nice.
I intend to. I don't know how familiar you are with the new game. Did you play it at all?
Yep,
Okay.
absolutely.
I'm going to get every Nook Mile achievement.
Ooh.
That's just something. If a game has like a big laundry list of like things to check off, I intend to do it. So all the Nook Mile rewards, that's sort of been my goal, and I've been. It'll literally take me past spring, I think, to do because I can't complete everything because of time stuff. Otherwise, God, I don't know. I don't know what are like the popular games these days. You know what I'm playing is Mario's Super Picross because it came out on the SNES online on Switch, and I love Picross, so that's what I've been playing in my spare time. Is a fucking not even translated into English Japanese Mario Picross game.
That's huge right there, man. That's a gamer. That's a real gamer.
Listen, that's I should put that on Twitch. People watching me silently solve a Picross for like 20 minutes. That I think that'll get all the bits or whatever the fuck Twitch gives you.
That's it right there. That's the cheat code. You will be winning Twitch right there, man.
Here's the thing though. I'll see stuff that gets was it you who was doing chess or was that somebody else?
I did do some chess.
Okay. What the fuck? Just where did that come from?
Chess blew
I
up.
love that though, but I'm just wondering where did that how that started.
Chess really blew up for, I mean, it's still popular on Twitch, but it really blew up a few months back, like 4 months ago, with Hikaru really just going at it on chess. He's Grandmaster, and then other Grandmasters came on and really started doing a lot of streams with chess. Streamers started
Mm.
doing chess because they were impressed with Hikaru and everyone else, and then eventually they started doing some tournaments. The tournaments did real well. I mean, it was a pretty crazy time for the chess community.
Is Hikaru a grandmaster?
Yeah, he's probably the best in the world. Him, and Magnus Carlsen, they always go real close. Like their games are always super close. Hikaru wins some, Magnus wins
Oh
some.
shit.
So he's
Yeah.
he's the best there is, really.
And he's a was he a grandmaster who became a streamer or
Yep, yep, yep,
I
yep.
see. And is that something I'm again now I'm just very feel like it's like I'm your grandpa. I'm like, oh, they're playing chess now on online. So tell me about it. It's like, yeah, this has been like a thing for like months or whatever. But so Hikaru was a grandmaster, and then was it like he decided to stream because he likes streaming, or did somebody like approach him to do it, or how did that?
He'd actually been doing it for a while, and then just all of a sudden, really started to gain steam. Everything really started to get big for him over the last few months, and then it got big for the entire chess community. But he'd actually been a streamer for quite a while.
Oh, okay. How old is he? I don't know why I'm asking you. Like you're the you're the expert on this, but I'm just like,
He can't be older than like 35. He's a young dude. I'm gonna look it up actually.
okay. And how good are you at chess?
He's 32. I was right on the money.
Mm.
I'm at the 1,000 range, so it's like intermediate. It's not high. It's not a high rating at all. It's just like intermediate.
We're talking like an ELO rating.
Yeah, so it's called the FIDA.
Okay, gotcha. Uh, Yeah, like when I saw on like my Twitter feed, like people were talking about, oh, I'm entering this chess tournament, or I'm streaming chess. I was like, that's honestly fucking rad. Like,
Yeah.
I I love seeing something like that. That to me is very very interesting because I do a lot of board gaming. I'm not good at chess, but board games are like my primary, I would say, hobby. Um,
Yeah, I've seen you do a lot of board game content. You really should. Maybe you'd probably be like an actual chess prodigy. It's never too late.
but that you gotta what study all the fucking like gambits and all the like all the
Yeah.
like I get it. I totally get the appeal, but I would have to if I it's like one of those things where it's like if I really wanted to get good at it, I would have to like dedicate a lot of time, but that's time I could be spent playing other board games.
True.
Uh Plus I'm developing my skills in other board games. Are you familiar with the classic Liar's Dice?
No, I don't know that one.
It's basically the short version is that each of you has like 5 dice in a cup. You roll them, hide them, and then you're making like bids on how many dice of a certain number are under all the cups. So I think there are 10 fours. Oh yeah, and then you like raise the bid, or you call somebody out and see if they're wrong. If they're wrong, you they lose one of their dice.
Isn't
It's
that what
like
they played in Pirates of the
that
Caribbean?
is exactly what they played in Pirates of the
Okay.
Caribbean. Yeah, this has been it's like a centuries old game.
Okay.
So I've been playing a lot of that on a site called Board Game Arena, and at one point I was ninth,
Nice.
yeah. Well, although that's dropped since because
No.
with ELO, like especially if you play against players who've never played, it's a higher risk on your score. I'm
Right.
sure you with chess, you're familiar with that how that works, but yeah, at one point I was ranked ninth somehow, just because I was just getting that into it. Um, so chess. I won't. I will admit a part of it is intriguing to me, but I don't know. Do you keep up with it, or have you
Yeah.
moved on? Oh, you do.
No, I still keep up with it. I don't play that much anymore. I was playing the other day, and I'm definitely not nearly as good as I was a few months ago. But yeah, I definitely do still try and keep up with it.
Watch as in like a month from now, I'm just balls deep into it. I mean, that's the
You
thing. Like
should.
if I get really invested in like something, I dedicate all my fucking time and effort into it, and it
Chess
becomes a
would be
problem.
real rewarding, man. It really would.
Ah, shit. I'll think about it. I'll think about it. Oh man. And the thing is, if I did, it'd become all like that's all my channel would turn into is fucking
It's just
chess, and then I
chess.
and then I lose all my fucking nobody's watching anymore. But you know,
Whoa, hey, chess is pretty big on YouTube and Twitch, man. Who
on
knows?
YouTube too, really
Yeah,
interesting.
it's got a very strong chess community on YouTube. Like Daniel Naroditsky, he's got a great channel.
Huh. I may look into some of that after this. Well, anyway, this has been great. I we covered a variety of subjects, including chess at the end.
Yeah.
But this I had a good time talking to you. So thank you for sitting down with me, man.
Yeah, appreciate you having me on, man. Feel free to
Where
hit me up
can
whenever.
Yeah, of course. Where can people find you?
Just Penguin Z0 on YouTube or Moist Critical. Yeah, either of those two.
Sure. All right. Thank you, man.
Yeah, anytime, man.